This is United Network News with Sunny Galt, Calen, Kimberly Gogan, and our field messengers from around the world. Here's today's real news. It's Wednesday, October 1st, 2025, and here are today's stories. The U.S. government has shut down, leaving hundreds of thousands of workers in limbo. We'll break down what it means for federal employees, the economy, and why threats of mass firings are making the crisis even more uncertain. Toll roads promise faster, smoother commutes, but at what cost? For some drivers, convenience comes with a price tag that's starting to feel more like a burden than a benefit. In Hong Kong, the city's iconic street hawkers are vanishing, down 80% since 2024. Tourists and locals alike are wondering, is the charm worth saving? And should the rules change? Over in New South Wales, Australia, the Tamworth market is buzzing with fresh produce and handmade goods as local vendors pour heart and soul into every stall. At a local grammar school, students and alumni come together to celebrate 117 years of history on Founders Day, reconnecting generations and traditions. Scotland's wind turbines are producing plenty of energy, but nearly 40% of it isn't reaching the grid. Operators are even being paid to shut down, revealing the tricky growing pains of renewable power. And in Japan, communities light up for the Bon Dance, a joyful summer festival honoring ancestors where tradition, music, and dance come alive. The United States government has officially shut down. It happened early this morning at midnight, the start of the government's new fiscal year. The shutdown puts hundreds of thousands of employees out of work and disrupts a bunch of federal programs. Shutting down the federal government has become increasingly common, with 3 occurring during President Donald Trump's term alone. The longest was 35 days in late 2018, costing the U.S. economy $11 billion. When a government shutdown hits, every department scrambles to decide who stays and who goes. However, federal employees, even those working, don't get paid until the government reopens. Essential workers like active duty military, FBI agents, TSA staff, and air traffic controllers must stay on duty to maintain public safety. And usually they do it without pay until the shutdown ends. The shutdown puts hundreds of thousands of employees out of work and disrupts a bunch of federal programs. Shutting down the federal government has become increasingly common, with 3 occurring during President Donald Trump's term alone. The longest was 35 days in late 2018, costing the U.S. economy $11 billion. When a government shutdown hits, every department scrambles to decide who stays and who goes. However, federal employees, even those working, don't get paid until the government reopens. Essential workers like active duty military, FBI agents, TSA staff, and air traffic controllers must stay on duty to maintain public safety. And usually they do it without pay until the shutdown ends.
Here's what you need to know. Each agency has a guideline on how to operate when the government is shut down. That usually means suspending activities which are deemed non-essential to the protection of life and property. It also means holding pay to federal workers who fit those categories. Federal courts and the Federal Reserve will remain open, and certain U.S.-owned institutions like the U.S. Post Office and Amtrak, which don't rely on the congressional spending bill, will also continue to operate. Those of the IRS, on the other hand, will shut down. Other regulatory agencies will partially close, as well as some museums and most national parks. Key economic data reports could also be delayed, creating uncertainty for financial markets. The Bureau of Labor Statistics said it will suspend operations, including the release of its monthly jobs report. And this time, the shutdown stakes are even higher. The Trump administration has threatened to permanently fire federal workers rather than just furloughing them. In the meantime, congressional leaders will keep negotiating until they come to a bipartisan agreement. Democrats are pushing for the extension of Obamacare subsidies, while Republicans say that that is a non-starter for them.
As part of this government shutdown, Trump has warned of possible mass firings of federal workers, saying it's about cutting government waste. The threat adds to the uncertainty for employees who are already facing missed paychecks and are unsure what will happen should the shutdown continue. The situation intensifies this week as more than 150,000 federal employees will resign as their deferred resignation periods end, a program initiated by Trump at the start of his second term. This marks the largest government exit in history, meaning thousands of experienced professionals, from scientists to engineers, are leaving. Experts warn this will harm public health, economic stability, national security, and critical services like those provided by the Veteran Affairs and Social Security. A large influx of unemployed workers could also strain the U.S. economy.
The resignations, which began on Tuesday, come from workers who had already accepted buyouts under a Trump administration program. Many had been on paid leave for months under a deferred exit scheme that kept them officially on the payroll until September. The scale of departures is staggering. Federal HR officials estimate that by the end of 2025, nearly 300,000 workers will have left, accounting for a 12.5% cut to the entire federal workforce since Trump's return to the Oval Office in January. Experts warn of serious consequences. Don Moynihan, a professor at the University of Michigan, says the biggest impact is a brain drain, as decades of experience and institutional knowledge disappear overnight. He warns that the expertise needed to run critical programs cannot be replaced quickly. The effects are already being felt. Agencies report difficulties in weather forecasting, food safety, health programs, and space research.
Predicting the full impact of potential federal mass firings is difficult, and no one knows when the shutdown will end. These standoffs are always easier to start than resolve. Ending a shutdown requires Congress to pass an appropriations bill, which means Republicans and Democrats must compromise, a prospect that currently looks unlikely. Both sides are holding firm and blaming each other for the fallout. For ongoing updates and deeper analysis, keep watching UNN and our Global Intelligence Agency reports as we continue to follow this developing story. Toll roads have always sparked strong opinions in transportation debates. They promise smoother, faster commutes for those willing to pay. But not everyone is thrilled about the idea, especially since for many drivers, the cost of using toll roads can quickly pile up. What starts as a convenience can easily feel more like a financial burden. Toll roads are common worldwide and are managed by governments, private companies, or sometimes both. Advocates argue toll roads help manage traffic flow and improve safety, and most toll revenue is used to maintain, build, or operate the specific road. On the other hand, critics argue tolls disproportionately affect low-income commuters, making it harder for them to access these faster routes. There's also the issue of double taxation, with many feeling frustrated they're paying tolls on top of the taxes they already contribute to fund public roads. It's a valid concern, especially when toll revenue transparency is questionable. Many view tolling as an inefficient and unfair infrastructure funding method, particularly when funds are diverted from highway projects. In fact, an American Transportation Research Institute report found nearly half of analyzed toll revenue wasn't used for road construction or maintenance, raising accountability questions and doubts about driver benefits. Then there's the matter of private toll roads. Who ensures these privately managed routes serve the public's best interests and don't just pad corporate profits?
Did you know that roads could be sold? They can. Foreign companies now own a lot of U.S. toll roads, and they're able to profit from rising tolls while the infrastructure crumbles. The Indiana Toll Road is a perfect example of this. So it's a vital link between Ohio and Illinois, but instead of keeping it in public hands, Governor Mitch Daniels leased it out for 75 years. 75 years, that's an entire lifetime. Daniels pushed this deal as part of his Major Moves infrastructure plan, selling it as a no-tax solution. And what he didn't mention was that Goldman Sachs advised him to do the deal while secretly investing in the winning bidder, which was a private international link-up between two other foreign companies. The state was told that the road would only generate $1.92 billion over 75 years of public control. But the private investors knew better. They expected to make their $3.85 billion bid back in just 15 years. And then every toll collected after that was going to be pure profit. Okay. I need you to pause for a second to think about that. The state figured that they would only make a little over $1 billion for this road. And so they sold it to this company who did their own assessment. We're like, hey, we're going to bid $3 billion for this, but we're going to get it back in 15 years. So everything else for the next 60 years is profit. Every toll collected after that 15 years, profit. So you have companies who aren't even in the country making money off the American citizen through their roads. Why would someone in an office in Spain care about the needs of citizens in Indiana? Spoiler alert, they don't. So this obviously wasn't a good deal. But who paid for this mistake? If you guessed the public, you were right. Tolls immediately spiked. The foreign company increased the tolls 76% in just 7 years, which led to truckers and commuters avoiding the road altogether. They would take other roads and end up clogging up the smaller highways, increasing accidents, driving up the road maintenance costs for those roads. This deal also locked Indiana into a 75-year non-compete clause, meaning that the state literally cannot build any competing roads without paying penalties to the private owners of the road.
According to the U.S. National Motorist Association, toll roads operate as state-approved monopolies, leaving drivers with little to no input on how they're managed or priced. As a result, public highways often suffer from neglect, since improving them could create competition for toll roads. In essence, toll roads depend on congestion on public highways to remain profitable. This means problems on public roads are unlikely to be fixed if they threaten the toll road's profits. On the other hand, the Colorado Department of Transportation highlights highways can also pose serious risks due to external factors like heavy snowfall, icy conditions, and poor lighting, especially in mountainous regions. Poorly maintained roads, riddled with potholes, bad drainage, and inadequate networks only amplify these dangers. This contrast often leads to the perception toll roads are safer and more reliable due to their better maintenance. Love them or hate them, toll roads are part of the transportation infrastructure. But there's plenty to think about when it comes to how they're managed and who they truly serve. The toll system needs fixed. Contracts should be fair and more transparent. Limit windfall profits, share revenues with the people, and tie toll increases to performance, not automatic hikes. And having independent oversight that's open to everyone sounds pretty good. After all, roads are for everyone, right? Traditional hawkers or street vendors have always been part of Hong Kong's charm, selling everything from fresh vegetables to meats. However, they are slowly disappearing as stricter rules reshape the landscape. New research shows a huge drop in street hawkers, down 80% to just 233 in 2024. This has sparked debate. Should the government update its hawking policies, especially as tourists seek more authentic experiences? To understand this decline, it's important to look at the history. After World War II, many Chinese refugees facing limited job opportunities turned to street vending to get by. And back in the 70s, when the economy was a bit rocky, street vending really boomed. But with so many vendors, the streets got super crowded and concerns about sanitation and safety grew. In response, the government introduced a licensing system and designated hawker zones. By 1973, new hawking licenses ceased, and a hawker control unit was formed to manage unlicensed sellers and enforce strict stall regulations. This stringent approach largely continues today, with a brief exception in 2009 for new ice cream vendor licenses.
日曬雨淋啊，做小販，譬如佢哋咧咁細嘅檔口，佢哋兩位咧係企喺度企足一日㗎。你睇下佢哋個檔連張凳都擺唔到。我見到起身去市場係啦，朝頭早6點鐘做到夜晚8、9點。廿幾30年前可以擺到呢度為止，都玩淡水嚟啦。一擺縮啲咁多位做6500，有幾多6500蚊嚟俾你嚟賣？咩叫做街邊檔？咩叫做小販咧？小販你要俾佢生存，要擺出嚟先得㗎。匿埋喺個窿度就唔叫小販啊！唔係困難嘅問題啊，係惡劣啊！根本我哋根本生存唔到，冇機會生存得到。你可以問下街坊各位街坊，唔係單止我有個感受得到。我哋而家咧就將小販咧 set 咗喺個框嗰度，方你唔死啊！你明唔明我意思？擺你個框，賣乜又限制，煮咩嘢食又限制，幾大幾細又限制，差唔多未話俾你聽點樣擺設嘅啫。咁邊係小販啫？係咪啊？小販係可以乜嘢？好有空間感嘅。外國嘅小販區咧，乜嘢嘢都有嘅，嗰個想像能力、擺設嘅能力好強。去到香港，如果你將小販等於阻街，將佢哋喺呢個緊箍咒裏邊，任何政策都唔使推。
Hawkers today fit into 4 groups: dry goods, cooked food, newspapers, and mobile vendors. The government has strict rules for each. For example, mobile hawkers cannot transfer permits or have assistants, meaning they must operate their stalls alone. Fixed pitch hawkers can only pass their license to immediate family once. These strict rules also significantly impacted fixed pitch cooked food hawker stalls, famously known as Dai Pai Dong, which translates to big licensed stall. In the late 19th century, unlicensed food stalls appeared across Hong Kong, leading the government to issue cooked food licenses to support families of injured or deceased civil servants. By the 1940s, Dai Pai Dongs surged to more than 200, but caused pollution, noise, and traffic issues in neighborhoods. To control this, the government stopped issuing licenses in the 1950s and restricted transfers, leading to their gradual decline. In the 1970s, stall owners were encouraged to move into cooked food centers or give up their licenses for compensation.
In the 1980s, they were fully expecting that within the decade, there would be no more Dai Pai Dong. There was a change in policy so that children could not inherit licenses from their parents. Some of the alternatives that were offered to Dai Pai Dong store holders was to go into shop tenancies inside of municipal service buildings.
True to its status as a place for the people, Dai Pai Dongs were also embedded in the first public housing estates in the 1970s. These Dai Pai Dongs were nestled in structures known as Donggu Teng, or mushroom pavilions, because their roofs resemble mushroom caps.
So Dai Pai Dong were put into these Donggu Teng spaces to serve the community, but it was also a way of creating structure and order to the Dai Pai Dong.
Donggu Teng were often split into 4 quadrants, with each hosting a separate Dai Pai Dong. However, these mushroom designs also faded when the government stopped issuing new licenses in the 1990s. Many have since been demolished, but a few are still going strong.
As a result of these policies and challenges, running a small business in Hong Kong has become increasingly tough. Street-side Dai Pai Dongs have nearly vanished, dropping from 200 to just 17 as of July 2024, according to the Food and Environmental Hygiene Department. Mushroom kiosks in public estates are also disappearing due to health concerns. Despite efforts to shut them down, Dai Pai Dongs remain beloved for their affordable, tasty meals. Many Hong Kongers still visit them for quick lunches, nostalgic flavors, and to share this fading tradition with the next generation. Experts say Hong Kong's hawker economy, once a vital livelihood, is now a cultural attraction. With tourists seeking local experiences, they suggest reviving traditional hawker stalls for local snacks and souvenirs to boost tourism and preserve heritage. Inspired by mainland China's hawker zones, they recommend similar spaces in Hong Kong to benefit both locals and visitors.
Tamworth's local market in New South Wales, Australia, is alive with fresh produce and handmade goods. UNN Field Messenger Jerry reports on the dedication of producers who bring their best offerings to share with the community.
This is Jerry Ward, Field Messenger, reporting. I'm at the Tamworth Community Saturday Markets in Tamworth, New South Wales. We have a Tamworth Community Organic Gardening Group, has a variety of products and bric-a-brac on our table. Fresh honey, flowers. We bring some bananas in from North Queensland, microgreens, bagged salad and rocket jams and so on. Fresh eggs from pastured birds. We sell organic seeds, heritage seeds, and get them from a local supplier about 80 kilometres away from here. Firthy's Jerky, he makes it here in Tamworth. This market's been going for 10 years, had its ups and downs, and it's doing quite well now since we got a part-time coordinator. Spend $20 and get a free cake. What a good idea. Atunga eggs. They're pretty special coming from Atunga.
Absolutely.
Yeah, excellent. Little picket fence designs. There you go, made by Lisa. All sorts of different products here. Anyway, that's it from Jerry, reporting from on a very cold, very cool day for the last day of September here in Tamworth. Not a lot of people out today, and you can't blame them. Jerry Ward, Field Messenger, reporting from Tamworth, New South Wales. Hope you enjoyed this report, and we'll keep updating you on how things go.
At New Earth Innovations, we search the planet for nature's most powerful healers. This took us all the way to the coast of New Zealand. Our Omega 369 Plus is made from the Perna greenlip mussel, rich in omegas, chondroitin sulfate, and rare glycose aminoglycans. The Perna is one of nature's powerhouses. Support joint flexibility, easier breathing, better digestion, and a calmer, less inflamed body, naturally. Grown in clean New Zealand waters, backed by nature, sustainably sourced, trusted by thousands. Subscribe today and start feeling the difference.
Hey, I'm Kirsten from Switzerland.
This is Wayne from Tucson.
Hi, my name is Desmond from Ghana.
I am Claudia from Dawsonville, Georgia.
I'm Mikey from Pretoria, South Africa.
Hi, I'm Steve McGrath, Fort McMurray, Alberta, Canada.
People from all around the world are coming together.
Happy day, beautiful world. We are here in a rather small urban garden, and this video is just to show you the joys that we've had in this garden with the electric gardening.
When news happens in their area, they show us what's really going on.
We have people in the streets protesting for and against.
At United Network News, our field messengers are changing the face of news.
This is Field Messenger Helen reporting with Nature, and I'm going to talk to you about the bees again.
Take the next step in restoring our planet. Become a UNN Field Messenger today.
Hi, I'm Stephanie from South Africa. If it's going to be, it's up to me.
If it's going to be, it's up to me.
It's up to me.
It's up to me. It's up to me.
It's up to me.
It's up to all of us. We're UNN, and we're taking back the news.
UNN Field Messenger Ade reports from a local grammar school on their 117th Founders Day, bringing past and present students together.
Hello viewers,
This is Ade, Field Messenger for United Network News, reporting from Ibadan, Oyo State, Nigeria. This year, July 2025, marked the 117th Founders Day anniversary of my secondary school called Abeokuta Grammar School, established in July 1908 in the town of Abeokuta, Ogun State, Nigeria. This annual anniversary honors the school's rich history and the vision of its founders. The alumni of the school is called Abeokuta Grammar School Old Boys Association, or AGSOBA. AGSOBA is the oldest old students association in Nigeria, established in 1921. It has branches in some major towns in Nigeria and worldwide, where its members are resident. It serves as a platform to reconnect, network, and give back to the school and students. There are hundreds of alumni clubs set up by different graduating sets since its establishment. AGSOBA has contributed immensely to the development of the school, from mentorship programs for members, scholarship for students, and many infrastructural projects. Between 2021 to 2025 alone, 54 projects were commissioned within the school, ranging from construction of a bridge and laboratories, many classroom renovations, the assembly hall, a new entrance gate, to an ultra-modern food court, and much more. These projects were embarked upon by different alumni clubs. I was impressed by the commitment, enthusiasm, determination, and voluntary donations by the old students to give back to the school. The Founders Day celebration usually featured many events, including lectures, commissioning of projects, recognition of outstanding alumni, induction of new graduates, gifting of exceptional students, and lots of fun. As usual, a variety night held where barbecue is served to all attendees. Different alumni club sets organized foods at the event. They also organized after party at different locations in the town. For the first time, a fashion show called Agzobaliganza also featured. This fashion show featured different design and attire made from fabrics bearing the school color. It was a fantastic and very colorful event. This is my first time of attending the celebration since I left the school 35 years ago. It was a great reunion with my old peers. My alumni club, the set 1984 to 1990, has undertaken projects like the renovation of 2 blocks of 8 classrooms with 4 staff rooms and contribution to the perimeter fencing of the school land. I am looking forward to the 118th anniversary for next year. I'm sure it's going to be more exciting. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.
Scotland is a leader in renewable energy, but in the first half of this year, nearly 40% of its potential wind power never reached the grid. Instead, operators were paid to shut down wind turbines because the system couldn't handle the surplus. It's a costly paradox that shows both the promise and the growing pains of wind power. The problem isn't just theoretical. In 2024, Scottish wind farms were paid not to produce more than a third of the electricity they could have generated. That lost energy could have powered hundreds of thousands of homes. But without adequate grid infrastructure to carry it south to England or to store it for later, much of Scotland's clean power went to waste. The reason wasn't mechanical failure or lack of demand. It was that the country's power system couldn't handle the surge. Many of Scotland's new wind projects, including offshore sites in the Moray Firth, sit far from the population centers that need the electricity most. Transmission lines running south toward England are limited. and decades of underinvestment mean the grid can't carry the power efficiently. When the wind is strong, the grid operator faces a balancing act, paying Scottish wind farms to shut down while simultaneously ramping up gas-fired power stations elsewhere to keep the supply stable. It's a situation costing more than 117 million euros, which is about $159 million, in the first half of this year alone.
Welcome to the Orkney Islands in the far northeast of Scotland. About 22,000 people live here on around 1,000 windswept square kilometres, and they have so much renewable energy from wind and waves and tides that it's genuinely a problem. Solution number one is turn off the turbines.
2013 we were producing up to 130% of our electrical needs, so there can be quite a lot of curtailment on several turbines. There's active network management. The wind turbine will be shut down because the network can't handle the load. There's been a moratorium on any new grid connections. There is potential for some micro generation, but nothing of any scale. So when you're in a place like Orkney where you have some of the best generation potential, it's a complete waste.
For the very rare days when the wind is calm, there are interconnector cables that can pull up to 40 megawatts from the Scottish mainland. But okay, they're generating a massive surplus of power and they're connected to the British national grid, so surely solution number two is use those interconnectors. They can just sell the extra power back to the mainland. Well, those 40 megawatts that the interconnectors can handle, that's not actually all that much.
The interconnector cables we've got are small. We reckon there's 2,000 megawatts of tidal and wave generation around here. We reckon there's 17,000 megawatts of offshore wind within a couple of hundred kilometres of here. The interconnector was built for an old day when you used to burn coal and send us electricity. That's gone. We don't do that anymore. We now need to be in a position where we've got a better way to get the power from these islands away.
Scotland is investing heavily in its electricity grid to move wind energy from the north to where it's needed. Projects like the Eastern Green Link subsea cables and new high-voltage lines across the Highlands aim to transmit gigawatts of renewable power to demand centers in southern Scotland and northeast England. Scottish and Southern Electricity Networks, also known as SSEN, the operator of the high-voltage network in northern Scotland, is investing more than 20 billion euros, which is about $27 billion, by 2029 to upgrade infrastructure, including pylons, substations, and subsea cables to better integrate wind power. Some critics worry that while Scotland bears the costs and hosts the turbines, most of the energy and financial benefits will flow to other parts of the UK.
Subsea cables delivering electricity mostly from Scotland to England are planned, a project to complete in 2029 with over 500 kilometres of cable carrying enough wattage to power 2 million homes. It's a vital upgrading of the grid to handle green energy from the North Sea. But Kenny McCaskill, former Scottish Government Minister, says this project does not benefit Scotland. It's a rip-off, he says. Our massive wind energy resources are being cabled south right under our noses. Talking about the new Labour government, he says the change in government does not mean any change in policy, adding that Scotland's resources are being exploited while Scots see their fuel bills rise. The Alba Party think this cable project is a massive transfer of Scotland's resources for no economic gain, not in jobs nor cheaper electricity bills.
Another potential downside to Scotland's wind turbine problem is just how costly and complicated it all is, with no guarantee it will run smoothly. Paying wind farms to switch off, constructing new pylons, substations, and subsea cables, it all adds up, and consumers end up picking up the tab. There are also environmental and social trade-offs. New infrastructure can disrupt landscapes, wildlife, and local communities, and even the wind farms themselves have an impact. If the grid and storage solutions can't keep up, much of Scotland's clean energy could still go unused, wasting both power and money. Scotland's wind power may seem like a clean solution, but the reality is far more complicated and in some ways destructive. The massive infrastructure projects and ongoing payments to idle turbines show that green energy isn't automatically good energy. It's a reminder we need to question whether these massive wind schemes truly serve local communities, or whether they primarily benefit distant markets at the expense of the environment and taxpayers.
The Bon Dance in Japan is a joyous celebration that brings communities together to honor the spirits of their ancestors. UNN Field Messenger Akira introduces us to this cherished summer tradition.
Hello, I'm Field Messenger Akira, reporting from Kamakura, Japan. Tonight, I would like to introduce a popular summer event in Japan. It is called Bon Odori, which means Bon dancing or Bon festival dancing. Bon is about the middle of August and believed to be the time the dead family or relative or ancestor come back, based upon Buddhism. But rather, it has long been the most popular summer event and leisure in every district for many centuries all over Japan. Young, old, mature people, and little ones, male or female, all gather around the stage and dance the same dance, forgetting division and solitude of modern life, remembering the love and tie to the neighbors and strangers, and maybe even to souls. I heard that many Japanese communities all over the world are sponsoring Bon dancing. If you see this event, don't hesitate to join the circle. Thank you for watching. Field Messenger Akira reported from Kamakura, Japan.
Now it's your turn. Join our weekly meetings and become a field messenger. More information is available at our website, unitednetwork.earth. We're UNN, and we're taking back the news.